Well, here we are, everybody, with the latest of the game of chicken when it comes to real estate. Buyers versus sellers, a battle as old as time, a constant back and forth. Who is going to essentially cave first? When we have a look at this, we're going to look at the numbers a little bit first and foremost, because the numbers don't paint the entire picture. But based on that and some of the other supporting economic factors, we can pretty safely assure who is actually going to cave first. So first of all, let's look at the numbers. Inventory, close to 50% higher than our 10-year average, so it's skyrocketed. Demand, year over year, down just under 25%. Now, my issue with these numbers is it paints the worst of both sides. It suggests that inventory levels are 50% higher than average and they're just sitting there, nothing is being done. On the demand side of things, we're at just under 25%, so that suggests that there's absolutely no demand out there versus how much inventory, and that's just not the case. These numbers are depicted, especially on the demand side, by how many people have actually purchased a home. It doesn't include all of the people out there looking, all of the people who have put in offers, just negotiated back and forth and not been able to come to an agreement with the seller. On the listing side of things, it doesn't show the same thing, but in reverse. It doesn't show that, that there are properties out there that people are coming through and they're having a look at, and they're still getting showings, they're still getting open house viewings and so on and so forth. They just haven't been able to come to a deal. However, in saying that, that doesn't mean that sellers have the upper hand on things here. Inventory is significantly up, yes, which poses a big problem to sellers. This is going to be the biggest issue, because if you've got a property on the market and it's up for 1.5 million and your neighbor, a comparable property, ends up selling for 1.35, you're done. You're absolutely done. Your market value is now 1.35. It doesn't matter what you thought it was in the peak during COVID and just after. If it went for 1.6, then it does not matter, because your comparable property went for 1.35. There is this mindset thing that comes in with sellers. They look at peak numbers and they just hold on to them so friggin' tight. They're like, oh, during COVID, this sold for 1.6, or in 2021, the 2022, this sold for 1.6. It doesn't matter. If you were on the market at that time, you would have got 1.6, but a lot has changed since then. The market has come down. But there's this mental factor that they feel that they've lost out on this money, as if the money was right there, they said no, and they're now forced to take a lower amount. So there's this psychological barrier that sellers need to get over. Then on the reverse side of things, on the buyer side, whenever a buyer wants a deal, the buyer always wants more of a deal. Let's say prices have adjusted 15% downwards and that $1 million home is now 850,000. They're always still looking and saying, okay, well, it's a buyer's market. I want a deal. I want more off. There kind of comes this grit where you kind of grind it out. That's how an agreement is made. It can be pretty tedious during these markets here. So if you are buying and selling at the moment, don't expect such a fluid, easy negotiation back and forth. It's literally two opposites grinding against each other. Oh, Jesus, that sounds extremely wrong. I'm gonna have to rate this R-rated or something. But it's just gonna be a bit of a tougher process, because you've got two completely polarized sides right now trying to come to an agreement. The issue, when you boil down, take everything away from it, whether the buyer's right, whether the seller's right, is there's just so much going against sellers right now. Not only is there a huge amount of inventory, but debt levels have been rising, and we're talking consumer debt as well. So credit cards, things like that. That's a good indicator as to what's going to happen with mortgage rates. Although they're still minimal, some mortgage rates are defaulting, so we're starting to see a bit of a change there. Interest rates don't look like they're coming down to what people were hoping they were going to be. Somebody does sell, it does push the price down of the property, and just in this market, if your comparable is 1.35, that's where you're selling. You're not convincing anyone that you're going above that. Obviously, there's the risk of all the Donald Trump side of things, the tariffs, various different industry. There's so much going against sellers right now that I just think that they're in too much of a weak position after time to just say, screw it, we're sticking with it, this is the price in which we want. Sure, there are going to be some who are going to do that, but what's probably more likely is eventually there's going to be a turning point where people are going to realize, if I sell and I buy something, say, cheaper, then what I'm losing out on the selling side, I can make up on the buying side. And when that happens, you then start seeing the kind of fall and the cascade happen. So if you're looking at Brentwood and you're looking at condos, tons of property, in between 50, 60, 70 homes, pretty much exactly alike on the market right now. And let's say they're all listed around that 900,000 mark. One person is going to then sell at 825 or 850. All of a sudden, sudden that becomes the comparable. Anyone writing offers, trying to negotiate is using that as a comparable. You're gonna get the people who are like, absolutely not, I'm not gonna reduce my price to that. They're just gonna sit on market and you'll see them 100, 200, 300 days on market. And then you're gonna get the people who are gonna say, okay, well, let's just do this. Times are too tough at the moment. We're paying too much on our credit cards. Our interest rates are significantly higher. We've been coping for that much longer, especially in that type of field, the investors as well, who are like, I've been losing money on this too long. I just want to get out. And that's going to cause the cascade and the change in things. And buyers at the moment have this power. The difference is with the buyers, you need to realize when you're getting a deal. Like if you're getting 20% off, that is your deal. Because you're not getting 30% off does not mean you're getting hoodwinked. You're still getting 20% off. And it's just that, where does that level of reality kick in? So I'm calling sellers personally. If you guys think anything different, you drop your comment below and let me know why, and let me know why I'm wrong. Dare I say it, but I have been wrong in the past. I'm sticking with sellers on this one.